Previously on Funny Science Fiction.
So I wasn't sure whether to still send it to him because it was the thought that counts, or just skip it because.
Hi, I'm Jim Beard, and this is the Funny Science Fiction Podcast.
The podcast that makes the show Firefly seem long and drawn out. Our guest today is an author that I had the good fortune of meeting at the Monroe Pop Fest this year in 2021. Now, that's a smaller Comic-Con just outside of Detroit, Michigan. Now, Jim, to steal some of his own words, is an author who puts words in the mouths of characters such as Fox Mulder, Luke Skywalker, Peter Venkman, Spider-Man, Superman, and a few others. Now, we're really happy to have Jim Beard here with us today on Funny Science Fiction. Welcome to the show, Jim.
Hey, thanks a lot. I got to tell you right here at the outset, I feel an immense pressure to be funny on this show, and
okay.
I don't know if I can do it, but I'll give it a try.
Well, sometimes it's the missing the mark on funny that can be funny. So either way, we're gonna laugh.
So unfunny that he's funny.
Exactly. See, you're already nailing it. You're doing great.
See. Wow, it's a concept that I have to really I'll have to think about that one. Wow.
I mean, that's kind of why movies like Dumb and Dumber exist, because like they took the absolute dumb and just made it funny.
Right. Well, it's like so bad that it's good, right? We all have all those, movies and
absolutely
and TV shows that, hey, I want to make one correction to you, and you don't know, and people fall into this trap that I have.
Sure.
I call myself a writer, not an author.
Okay. What's the difference?
I moved it right along.
Before we get into our regular scheduled programming here.
And this is it's pretty much just me. An author is like a higher level of being. I consider myself a writer because I'm in the trenches and I'm working at it. An author is one of those people that maybe puts out a book a year, and every one of their titles has a novel after it.
Okay.
They do a lot of like wine and cheese, signings. They're not actually signing the wine and cheese, but I think you get my point here.
All right, so you're a writer.
A writer writes. A writer works. I consider myself a pulp writer, and those, the original pulp writers were, they worked for a living on it. But that's just me. It's just one of those little bugaboos that I have.
I'm okay with that.
All right.
That's fine. Okay. So yeah.
Now, if everybody hasn't switched off after that and said, "Dude, this guy," like, wow, what a prima donna! Like, I don't know if I want to.
Nah.
Yeah,
no,
okay,
we're good.
Right.
No, we're good. So, Jim, you have your hands in a lot of the sci-fi universes that we all know, we all love, but to be able to write for those universes, there has to be a base for you to be able to draw from. You can't fill from an empty tank. So growing up, what were your favorite forms of science fiction that helped you foster a love for sci-fi and help you to become the writer that we have in front of us today?
Just about everything. I'm thinking back as a kid, and there wasn't as much as around as it today, but I was pretty much a sponge, and I was soaking up pretty much everything when I was a kid. There were times where I hit something that maybe was kind of literate, that maybe didn't catch or hold my interest or whatever. But I was watching, if there was science fiction on TV, I was watching it. Movies, books, comics, you name it. I loved it all. And for many, many years, that's pretty much all that I ever read was science fiction, until I started to find out that there was actually other genres out there in books. But I think about that a lot today. It's like all the bad superhero shows that we watched in the early 70s. and people might look back and say, like, how could you have watched the first Spider-Man TV show? It's so bad. And it's like,
So
we were
campy. And
we were starved though at that time. We didn't have 3 or 4 Marvel movies a year.
sure.
We didn't have how many, we didn't have all the CW shows. We didn't have the Disney Plus Marvel shows. We were starved for all that stuff. We watched what we were given and absorbed it and processed it. And then, you know what? Maybe years later we look back and said, "Oh my God, like I can't believe I watched that." But sometimes those are badges of honor. Like I watched Wizards and Warriors, first run. I sat and watched, Battlestar Galactica the night it premiered. Even though it was interrupted because it was something to do with, I think it was, well, whoever the president was at that time. There was some kind of funny thing going on, and I had to sit there and fume through the delay until it, like it came back. They broke away from the news alert and went back to the pilot.
I think there's something to be said though for those old shows and the campiness of the shows, and because like we had Burt Ward on some time back. And
Wow.
we had an opportunity to sit down with him and talk with him not only about what he's doing now in animal rescue, but also about Batman from the 60s and the campiness of the show. And even though it was so campy and there was the the pow, the biffs, the zams, and all those kind of things, even today that's an enjoyable show to go back and watch, because it's like we talked about in what we were kind of talking about even off camera and now is that the sometimes some things are so silly or even so bad that they're still good.
Yeah.
And I think that's purely the case with Batman, is that there are times when it was just so ridiculously silly that you're like, wow, really, guys? But but it was still good it was still fun to watch because it was superheroes.
Sure.
Mhm.
The Batman TV show, the 66 Batman TV show is my most favorite television show of all time.
Excellent.
That show pretty much made me who I am today. And in fact, I'm in the middle of putting out a series of books about the show. We've done season 1 and season 2, and we're working on season 3 right now.
Oh, fantastic.
So
Oh,
Nice.
that show is beautiful because it works on many different levels. And back then, and still actually now, but back then it was one of the reasons it was a success was because children and adults could sit and watch it together and both get something different from it.
Yes.
The kids were watching it and it was serious. Comic book writer Mark Waid told me he'd sat there and watched Robin getting eaten by a giant clam, and he was seriously worried that the next episode Robin was not going to be in it because he was be dead.
Right.
And then but a parent could be sitting alongside of them chuckling, and because they're getting all of the satire and the parody, and the fun. I was that way. I thought it was a serious show when I was a kid. I remember the first time someone around me made fun of the fight scenes about how fake they looked, and I actually literally said to them, "What are you talking about? I think they're really punching each other. It looks so real. What are you talking about?" It's an incredible show. It burned bright for a very short time, and then it was gone. It's one of these little finite things, and I just love it. I will always love it, and I'm a huge champion of the show. It's an important moment in the history of the character of Batman.
I agree wholeheartedly.
yeah, definitely. And scrolling through your Twitter, I saw a lot of homage to like the 1950s sci-fi, or even a little bit after that. But like
Yeah.
the 1950s is really when sci-fi really began getting popular.
Oh
So-
yeah.
So like
Yeah.
what aspect of 50s sci-fi just calls out to you and is just kind of your resounding board.
You know what I love about 50s science fiction? It has the highest of highs and some of the lowest of lows. It's amazing that Forbidden Planet and The Day the Earth Stood Still, which are two of my most favorite science fiction movies of all time,
Excellent.
could be in the same decade as I'm trying to think of something, them or something like that. The Thing from Another World is just an amazing movie, and that ensemble cast in that is just incredible. The other thing that I found out and I suddenly realized somewhat more recently is what I tend to really gravitate more towards is British. There's some really great 50s and early 60s British science fiction and sometimes fantasy or horror that really stands out to me as being incredible quality stuff. Village of the Damned. For some reason I was thinking of that movie earlier today, and just the entire feeling that it's infused with is just amazing.
Yeah, so quick question for you.
Mm.
So since you said that The Day the Earth Stood Still is one of your favorite movies of all time,
Yeah.
what's your take on the Keanu Reeves remake?
Never seen it.
Fair enough. Okay.
You know what? I have no desire. When you have a movie like the original Day the Earth Stood Still, I'm of the opinion that I don't really need to see anybody else do that. Nobody can say the word obliteration like Michael Rennie. And no one needs to try.
Right.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah, and I like seeing the work that goes into the original movies at a time where they didn't have the computer effects
Sure.
to really shore them up. It's really fascinating to watch the physical effects or early animation of effects. I'm thinking of
Mhm.
Forbidden Planet as they go to Disney to actually do the id monster, and it's incredible to watch. That Forbidden Planet is so amazing because its effects still hold up really well to this day, and it has one of the most amazing backstories. The story of the Krell is it's huge, and
Mhm.
we only get a tiny glimpse of some of the things, and we're told a little bit about what they achieved and what they did, and just that whole sense of it that movie conveys is really amazing. To this day, it almost gives me chills every time I watch it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, I can understand your point too about not maybe wanting to watch a remake of your favorite movie. It would be very hard for me to sit down and watch somebody else's take on Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah.
That's my all-time favorite movie.
There's very few science fiction movies that I want to see a modern remake, but there's one that stands out that really needs to be remade, and it needs to be remade closer to the book, and that's Logan's Run.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I liked Logan's Run when I saw it in the theater back in the day, and when I've watched it more recently, I realize how bad it is. It's kind of it's kind of junky looking. It's not, like the sets aren't really that great. The acting is fairly poor in it. If you've ever read the original novel, is fairly different, and that's one movie that I can't believe that they have not remade it, to this point. I think that there were attempts to do it, but to this day it still hasn't been done, and I just don't get it.
Okay.
But you know what? Foundation for the very first time is finally, on film, finally going to be on TV or film.
Yeah,
or
that's on Apple
whatever.
Plus now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just noticed that. I haven't started watching it yet, but that's I'm finishing up one series probably tonight, and then I'll jump into the Foundation because that looks really cool.
Cool.
So
Cool.
we've talked with a couple of other writers who write about characters.
Good man. You're learning.
I try.
He can be taught.
Let's not push it.
Okay.
But we've talked with a couple of other writers who have written about characters and already confirmed universes with backstories and plot lines that are existing.
Yeah.
And here's a question I've asked them, and I'm kind of curious about your take on this.
Okay.
Now, when you're writing for characters like, Superman and Fox Mulder and, all these guys that already have stories out there that you have to, these storylines that affect how people look at them or perceive them.
Yeah.
Do you find that to make it harder or easier for you to write? Does it enhance your creativity or limit it?
That's a really great question, and I'm sure you've probably gotten different answers from different writers. I actually it you know what, it is more of a challenge, or it has more challenges involved. I'm of the opinion that when you write a licensed character, a character that's not your own, that has been around for a while, you can't go into it thinking that you're going to make it your own.
Right.
That's not the way to do it, in my opinion, unless you have been writing it for years and years and years. That character is not only owned by the license holder, it's actually owned by the fans in a way.
Yeah.
You have a duty to be true to the character. And in many ways, if it's something from film or television, you have a duty to be true to the actors that played that character. Every time I write one, I have to hear that actor in my head saying my dialogue, or it just doesn't work.
Right.
I just came out with a Green Hornet novel.
Ooh.
See how good I am. Look, I got visual aids here. Look,
this is the best game of show and tell we've ever played.
And
that's awesome.
You know what? I didn't sit there and say, you know what? I'm gonna make the Green Hornet an alien from outer space, and he's only posing as a human criminal, or anything like that at all. That's not the way to do it. And chances are you're just going to run up against the license holders anyways. Why do that? There's ways to put yourself into the project, but trying to fiddle with the character that everybody knows and loves is not the way to do it. You're going to get a lot of satisfaction from the first person who comes to you and says, hey, you know what? That was like a such and such movie that has never been made. I wrote an Extreme Ghostbusters comic book, and one of the greatest things that happened was that we had people coming up to us saying, my God, that was like an episode from the show. It was like an episode that they'd never filmed. And you know what? You couldn't give me a higher compliment than that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That means that I did my job. That means that the characters are in line with the way they should be, and it was enjoyable to the fans who have followed those characters.
So now I have a question for you. This just popped in my head because of you mentioning that you hear the characters' voices in your head.
Yeah.
So for the Green Hornet, did you hear Van Williams or Seth Rogen?
I actually saw the Seth Rogen movie, but no, definitely Van Williams. It's completely based on the Van Williams. I heard Bruce Lee, and I heard Van Williams,
Excellent.
and I heard Wendy Wagner. And I can't think of the name of the guy that plays D.A. Scanlon, but that's okay. The only reason I saw the Seth Rogen movie is that at that time I was writing for a local newspaper. And I was doing some movie reviews now and then, and I got to go to that for free. And after I was done, I was glad that I didn't have to pay for it.
You were fortunate for free. Okay,
it's not a complete waste. The guy that played Kato was actually
Yeah, Jay Chow.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah. He
Very good actor.
actually tried to do something, and he actually walks away from that movie looking, pretty good.
Mhm.
It's just, but to this day, I still am not sure who sat down and said, let's try to make it funny. Like,
I think
no,
Seth Rogen said, "Let's make it funny."
Okay,
So
well, Seth Rogen's to blame, and then here we are, still making fun of that movie.
So the one thing about writing is it's quite the process. I mean,
Mhm.
you've got pre-writing stuff you're doing, writing
Yeah,
stuff, and even stuff after you write.
yeah.
So which aspect about the writing process do you enjoy the most?
Being done.
completion.
Yeah, I gotta tell you, I writing does not come easy to me. The worst part is starting. A lot of people struggle with finishing, but I'm looking so forward to being done that I move myself to the finish line. As I'm writing, I'm thinking about the finished book and how nice it'll be that I can put it on my Amazon page, and and I can get
Right.
reviews, and I can sell it on off my tables at shows. The the writing process, I'm not in love with the writing process. I I really love coming up with plots and characters. I've always considered myself an idea person, but when it comes to the nuts and bolts, that's like pulling teeth most times. It's that staring at that blank screen and writing those first words. But if I can get past that first sentence, that first paragraph, maybe even that first page, and it starts to flow, then I'm okay. And I'll make sure that I write every single day until the thing is done. But
Mhm.
I know some people really, really enjoy the actual typing the words and laying it out, and that's not me. It's before the first words go into the Word document, and then it's after it's done. Those are the things that I look forward to, not necessarily the middle part.
Right.
Okay. Because I know some people who will start writing and they'll get past that first, like you said, that first sentence, the first paragraph, the first page, and they get
Yeah.
going and they have they have their outline there, and this is how the book, how they see the book going,
Yeah.
and they get into the book, and all of a sudden they they want to make a change. And
Right.
how often does that actually happen where you're getting into the book, you've got a plot line in your head, and you get to the point where the plot line needs to start really setting in, and you
Yeah.
go, you know what, I that's not what I want to do.
It does happen, and I got to tell you, when that happens to me, it's usually the characters stop me and tell me that they want to do something different. There's no other way for me to describe it. And I know what I just said about not really enjoying that middle part, but there is some magic that happens at that moment when a character literally stops you, grabs you by the collar, and shakes, gives you the shake, shake, slap, slap thing, and says, "I don't want to go that way. I want to go this way." And that has happened to me several times over the years, and it almost always has turned out to be the better choice than what I had planned.
Excellent.
Other than that, I usually stick to my general outline. Things can change. A chapter might start to get too long, so I'll bring it to a close at a point where I didn't necessarily plan on it. I've added in scenes in between scenes, and that's the kind of stuff that comes out of just being, hip deep into a plot. But yeah, it does happen, and there is a certain magic in that, because that means that your characters are starting to come alive. they've taken root in your head, and they're actually talking and walking and doing things separate from your own, id, as it were. And saying it's magical is really the only way I can describe it.
No, that makes sense. I get that. Okay. So, Jim, a lot of times when we, because we are in such a visual world now, almost everything in this world is visual. We have our phones getting bigger and bigger screens, tablets and computers, and all these things. And so because of that, many of the movies, the TV shows, even the comics are on phones and tablets nowadays. But comics, video games, all these things have what we like to call Easter eggs in them. Something for the viewer to find and be excited about. I would suppose that it's a lot harder to have an Easter egg inside of a non-visual medium. But do you ever hide any secrets or Easter eggs in your books, hoping that people will find them?
In almost every single thing I've written, there is something. And sometimes it might be so subtle that no one will ever catch it. But I know that it's there, to, maybe things that are a little bit more obvious. No, I love doing stuff like that. And it is possible to put it into, a prose novel. And if someone's not reading it carefully, they could miss it. One of the ones that I had the most fun with, it didn't happen. I tried to make it happen. I was writing a Spider-Man novel about 5 years ago, and around that same time, I was also working on my Kolchak novel, and the stories are set in New York City. So you have two different licenses, two different publishers, companies, everything. And I tried to put in a crossover
that'd be cool.
between them. And unfortunately, the Spider-Man novel was so heavily edited by all different parties. There was too many fingers in that one that they kept trimming things and trimming this and trimming that. And the Kolchak part of the Spider-Man novel got cut, but it's funny because I think in the Kolchak novel, the Spider-Man part is still in there.
Oh, that's fantastic.
So, the characters were all at the little park that's right next to the Flatiron building. And it's terrible. I can't think of the name of the park. I love the Flatiron building in New York City. There's a little park there, and there's, tables, and you can sit there and, on your lunch break. And I had Kolchak there, and he looks over at one point and sees a young guy and a redheaded girl at a table, and he thinks this or that about him. I can't remember exactly how that goes. Well, that's Peter Parker and Mary Jane. In the Spider-Man novel, it was that Peter was looking around while Mary Jane was talking, and he sees Kolchak, and he thinks something like, my God, who today would wear a seersucker suit, or something like that, And unfortunately, that one whole scene with him and Mary Jane in the park, so much of that was trimmed. They kept saying, that's extraneous, that's extraneous. So it was the crossover that never happened. But that's the kind of funny thing. Now, I'm never mentioning the characters' names in the other books, so I'm not going to get in trouble, that way. But it was just a fun little thing. But if it had gone off, you would have had to have read both books. And then, even then, maybe you wouldn't have realized, exactly what was going on.
That's cool. On there. Yeah, because I was wondering how that could actually happen. Because I was thinking about that today. I was like, because, I was watching something and I noticed a little Easter egg and I was like, ooh.
Here's a good one. I have a ghost hunter character named Sergeant Janice, and in the very first Sergeant Janice book, there's a police officer who has to go and investigate something that's going on at a house, and this is great because this is just, I think it was yesterday or the day before was Godzilla Day. It was the anniversary of the release of the very first Godzilla movie. So I put in a thing where the address of the house that he has to go to is 11. I think let's say 11454 Tokyo Street. So it was November 4th, 1954 in Tokyo. That's the kind of thing that I really enjoyed, doing.
That's cool.
That the house number was the date of the release of Godzilla, and it was on Tokyo Street.
Nice.
That's cool. That's a neat little Easter egg.
Yeah, it was November 3rd.
November 3rd. Okay, right. It was yesterday.
So our Facebook group has a bunch of memes, and it's like this universe crossed over with this universe, and that's where the funny comes in. And so, which two characters that you have written would you like to see either come together, work together, or to become nemesis?
Wow. The publisher of my Green Hornet and my Kolchak book is Moonstone, and they already did the Kolchak Green Hornet crossover story. So somebody already beat me to it. It's funny. I've written Ghostbusters. I think it would be really fun for Kolchak to meet the Ghostbusters.
Mm-hmm.
I think that would, be really, really fun. I'm trying to think of something else along those lines. You know what? Wouldn't it be great to finally be able to do the X-Files Kolchak crossover? Chris Carter created the X-Files in large part because of his love of Kolchak.
Okay.
And that would be incredible. And they tried to do that in the show. Darren McGavin is actually in 2 episodes, but he refused to play Kolchak. So that Kolchak, Fox Mulder, and Dana Scully crossover, never really happened. That would be fun to finally be able to do that.
Okay.
Excellent.
Cool. Well, Jim, we're at a portion of our show where we like to take our guests and run them through a quiz.
Okay. You mean a meat grinder?
Or something along those lines, yeah.
Okay.
All right, so
All right, I'm ready.
All right, so I chose this quiz today because of your Gotham book series.
Okay, good.
So I thought, oh, wow, what could be more fun than a Batman quiz? So we're going to do a Batman quiz.
I hope I get this right.
Well, so here's the good news. There's 5 questions. Right. They're all multiple choice.
Okay.
Now, if you get 3 of the questions correct, we want to send you one of these handy dandy I gave to the Red Shirt Widows and Orphans Fund coffee mugs.
Okay.
Okay.
Wow, there's prizes.
Yeah, there's prizes. Exactly. And if you get 4 questions correct, we're going to send you that coffee mug along with the book that Nick's about to hold up. There he goes.
Come on, Nick, quick.
There he is. It's called
right.
Dances with Aliens. This is the newest book by Drayton Allen. It's about the last man on Earth who's actually a dog, but not a dog that goes woof. A singing, dancing dog of the cartoon theme park variety. And so, and it's all about a guy who's in this park, but wonders how they can all go to all these distances and travel, but not recognize a guy in a dog suit. So now that's if you get 4, we'll send you the book and we'll send you the coffee mug.
All right.
However, if you get less,
if
you get less than 3, so anything less than 3, we take a picture of you, we make a meme out of you, and we put you into our Facebook group. Are you okay with that?
Sure.
All right. We call it our fun.
I've always wanted to be a meme.
There you go. We call it our fun sequence.
Okay.
All right, Nick, take us away on the quiz.
Which supervillain broke Batman's back? Was
Bane.
it? All right.
Sorry.
No,
that's good. It's multiple choice. Yeah.
Multiple questions. We don't need no stinking multiple questions. All right. So he's 1 for 1. It was definitely Bane. All right. Question 2. The original Batgirl was related to what other character? Was it Commissioner Gordon? Was it Batwoman? Or was it Alfred?
Barbara Gordon related to Commissioner Gordon, father and daughter.
Actually, no, that was the second iteration. The original was the niece of
Okay.
Batwoman.
I didn't understand. You did say the original. Yep, you're right. Wow. All right.
So 1-1.
Yeah, that's me not listening. That I would have known that. Yeah, if you said the Batgirl with the hyphen in between Bat and Girl, then yeah. Yeah, okay. Betty Kane.
Yes.
Yes.
Damn. All right, I got to start paying more attention here. All right.
What Batman villain was formerly a zoologist? Was it Man-Bat, Killer Croc, or the Penguin?
A zoologist. Wow. It's not the Penguin. And you know what? Unless this is something that they've done more, in more recent years. Kirk Langstrom was a scientist, but I don't think he was ever called a zoologist. And Killer Croc, what's funny is I don't know a whole lot more about his backstory. Wow. Okay, guys. Killer Croc seems too dumb to be any sort of. You know what? I'm going to say Man-Bat, and maybe at some point they said he was a zoologist. So
you are
shoot
correct.
me down.
You are correct.
You're correct.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Yeah, he was. Let's see. I can't remember exactly when it was released that he was a zoologist, but yeah, it was.
Yeah, because in his initial appearances, I don't think that said he's working on a sonar type of thing, and
Right.
he takes blood from the bats and all of that. But okay, interesting.
Yeah, I'm trying to look real quick, and I think it was in. That's just about his introduction in the Detective Comics.
It was in the Batman animated series. He was a zoologist.
That's okay.
Well, there it goes.
All right, there was a trick question.
Yes, maybe. All right, so question 4. All right, so we're 1 and 2.
All right.
No, you're 2 and 1.
2 and 1.
2 and 1. Yeah.
2 and 1. Let's not take it away from you. You're 2 and 1.
Right.
All right. So question 4. Professor Jonathan Crane is also known by what other name? Scarecrow. All right. And well, with that answer, that wins you this handy dandy coffee mug. Well, not this one. We'll give you one that my lips have.
Okay. All right. One that doesn't have your DNA on it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Sample free. There you go.
Who is credited with the creation of Batwoman? Bob Kane, Joe Shuster, or Jack Kirby?
Literally the Kathy Kane Batwoman, right? Let's make sure we have our term.
The original.
Yes.
Well, it would have to be Bob Kane.
Correct.
You are correct.
Okay. Yeah. It's not Joe Shuster or Jack Kirby. They created everything else.
So yeah. So we will make sure that we get you a copy of that book, and we'll send you a coffee mug as well. And
I would have, I want to reiterate, I would have gotten that other one had I been paying attention.
Well, that's what makes it fun.
Yeah. Yes.
Well, Jim, thank you so much for being on the show today. Where can our listeners go to find out more about you and what you're doing now?
Well, first and foremost, hit my Amazon page. You can go to Amazon under books and just put my name in, and my page should come up, and you'll see everything there except for the 2 Moonstone books. Moonstone is doesn't have their books on Amazon. So if you go to Moonstone, I think it's moonstonebooks.com, you'll see my Green Hornet novel and my Kolchak novella, and everything else is on Amazon. If you want to visit me on Facebook, go to my fan page, which is called The Beard, the Jim Beard fan page. and I'm on Twitter at writer Jim Beard, all one word.
Nice.
Very
And would
good.
you like to plug any of your books at this moment, or?
The two Batman books are Zlonk Zok Zowie, the Subterranean Blue Grotto Essays on Batman 66 Season 1, and then even newer is Biff Bam Eow, the Subterranean Blue Grotto Essays on Batman 66 Season 2. We are hard at work now on Season 3, and that should be out by the spring next year. And I have to think of the title of that one. I have to cheat and look at the last page. Oof, Boff, Splat is the third one. The Green Hornet novel is called How Sweet the Sting, and it is based on the 66 Van Williams, Bruce Lee Green Hornet show. And then my newest book that I just came out with is book 2 of if anybody out there is a fan of G.I. Joe Adventure Team, they may kind of get a vibe of that from my books that are called DC Jones and Adventure Command International. This actually started as actual G.I. Joe Adventure Team fiction. There used to be a thing on Amazon called Kindle Worlds, which was a platform that writers could write licenses. They could write actual stories within different licenses, and the G.I. Joe license was up there. And I was the very first one to actually write Adventure Team. Everybody else was writing Real American Hero.
Nice.
So when that went down, we all owned our stories, but we didn't own the license, of course. So for a couple of years, this stuff just sat around, and I got sick of it sitting around. So I made my own version of it. And then I just came out with book 2. So it's literally DC Jones book 1 and DC Jones book 2. And as you can see, the covers look like the toy packages from the 70s.
Oh yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. And so book 3 will be next year.
All right, very good.
Excellent.
Well, guys, if you haven't yet hit that subscribe button, take a moment now, hit that subscribe button. It's the most important thing you can do to ensure that we get more amazing guests like Jim Beard here today and give us funny moments for us to be able to continue to listen to. So please subscribe. It helps out way more than we can ever really tell you. And be sure to go check out Jim Beard's work as well. Go buy some books on Amazon. He's a good writer, and we can always want to support good writers. Now, for whatever reason, if you're not happy with the content of our show today, please feel free to lodge a complaint with the head of our complaint department, the Riddler. Now, single copies are only required for Edward Nygma. And sure, it'll take a while for us to decipher and decode the punishment that Nygma has in store for us. But you can be sure that the Riddler will take great pleasure in exacting the revenge for our lack of talent and in the ways that our show offended you. So, yay for us.
Well, thanks again, Jim.
Hey, thank you guys. It was very fun and funny.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for watching. Go subscribe.
Bye.
Our show is brought to you by our charity sponsor, the Red Shirt Widows and Orphans Fund, which supports the Wish Upon a Teen Foundation that helps out sick kids when they need it most. And just imagine the comfort you'll give Red Shirt crewman number 99. He'll know that when he puts on the red shirt and joins the apes from Planet of the Apes and World Domination, that he didn't leave his family destitute and without hope, because the Red Shirt Widows and Orphans Fund has his back and the rest of his pension plan.
And speaking of sponsors and show partners, check out this short video from our good friends over at Level Up Lightsabers. Information about Level Up Lightsabers and their online training sessions can be found in the episode description below.
On behalf of the rest of the hosts of Funny Science Fiction, we'd like to thank you for listening to this episode. If you'd like to be a guest on one of our future episodes, please contact us by means of our Facebook group, Funny Science Fiction. You can find us on Twitter or Instagram using the handle @FunnySciFi, or you can go to DraytonAllen.com and click the Contact Me link at the bottom of the page. Thanks again. Hope you enjoyed the episode.
Copyright 2020 by Drayton Allen. Original music by Jordan Michaels. Reference to any specific product or entity mentioned in this podcast does not constitute an endorsement or recommendation of or by Funny Science Fiction or its sponsors. The views expressed by guests are their own, and their appearance on the program does not imply an endorsement of them or any entity they represent. If you have questions about this disclaimer, please contact us via email at draytonallen@draytonallen.com.